question. In the midst of the meta-crisis and decay of institutions, communities, and traditional modes of cultivating and transmitting wisdom and virtue, how best can young parents guide and educate their children to afford their flourishing into whole, true human beings? Great question. Borderline obsessed about it.
I spend a fair amount of time with elementary school teachers. We talk about a meaning crisis, and we're usually thinking about adults, but when we're talking about the ability to form friendships, so many of these basic skills start very young. And Rod talked about adults in Louisiana basically getting their community time cannibalized by the television set and the satellite disc. I think we're going to see in the next few years a realization that the same thing is happening with very small children with iPads and cell phones that busy, harried parents are putting in front of their children, and their children are losing a lot of, we look at children between 0 and 5 and think, well, what do they do? I mean, talk to John Vervaeke, all the stuff he talks about, all those building blocks they're learning in that period. And so much of that time very early on is getting cannibalized by parents who are busy, harried, they're distracting themselves in their screens, they're throwing screens at their kids. And we're going to see really disturbing trends showing up in lower elementary where children don't have the basic capacity to function socially in these quasi-industrial schools that we have for them. And I think what we're going to see increasingly is an ongoing division in society between parents who are cognizant of this and are probably opting out of a lot of public school regimes, leaning towards homeschooling, other kinds of schools, much more restriction on screens, much more emphasis on engaging children right from the start socially, even though you can't take a test well, you probably could, but most people don't, between 0 and 5 about that basic capacity to interact with another human being. And I would expect we're going to see in the next 10 years crisis levels of this, but we're also going to see certain clusters of community where those kids are doing fine. And it's going to become increasingly obvious that that there are patterns developing that, it's a lot of these religious people and their communities where their children they do go out and play, and they know how to play together. And I think this is going to become a very big deal in the next decade.